Welcome to the It's All Fine and Danjee podcast, where hosts Dan and Angie talk with creatives, small business owners, charities, and all kinds of interesting people. It's all real talk. It's all fine and Danjee.
Hi, everyone out there. So happy that you are able to tune in and listen to the show today. We are very excited to be coming to you from our temporary studio that is actually sponsored by Wekiva Island. Our friends at Wekiva Island have lent us a little space here to do our podcast out of, and we are so thankful to them that they are helping to support us while we are in our transition.
I love that. And full disclosure, we're also sort of sitting out in the lobby of the building of where we're looking into the door of our new podcast studio.
Yes.
We're waiting for some equipment to come in.
We're at the conference table.
It's like we're
today,
inching closer and closer to it.
Which it really kind of makes sense that we're at the conference table because we're actually sitting with a tax attorney here, Mr. Tom Evans, with Pineapple Law and Tax right here in Orlando. And we're so excited to just ask some questions to kind of help the small businesses out there with those, very difficult tax rules and regulations, and it's so confusing.
I'm so glad, Angie,
so
that
confusing,
you have been managing this part of our new small business. I'm so happy for that. I will do everything else if you stay on that category.
Well, let me just say that I started managing this because I found Tom, and he helped walk me through some things that you would think would be simple, but they really weren't. So,
welcome to the show, Tom. We're glad you joined us tonight.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's a pleasure. We've been hanging out for a little bit before we started here. And I just say, Dan and Angie, cool people, so sweet. You guys have made this this is my first time, full disclosure, doing a podcast.
I was going to bring that out. Man, we got a lot of first timers.
So yeah, got a little bit of nerves, but honestly, you guys have been so cool. I feel like so comfortable now. So
awesome.
thank you.
Very nice.
That's what we like to hear. Like we said, like we'd meet you on the street and learn about what it is you do.
Heck yeah.
You know that vibe you're talking about, though, that's the vibe that Angie got meeting with you right away. And
I have to have that vibe, too, if I'm going to work with somebody.
Well, I mean, and I don't know the likelihood of getting that vibe when you're trying to find like a tax attorney or tax information. So, props to you on that, because she was like,
Thank you.
my gosh, this is amazing. It's like, now I learned this and he helped me do this. So let's get into it for a minute. So you're a tax attorney.
Yes.
Can you tell us just on a level what that means even?
Yeah, so tax attorney, it's people who are attorneys licensed to practice law that specialize in doing taxes, just like you would have a personal injury attorney, a trust and estates attorney. I always tell people as a lawyer, just like if you have a medical problem with the doctor, if you got a problem with your skin, you got to go to a dermatologist.
Yeah.
You're always better off going with a specialist. So, dealing with tax, you could go to any type of general lawyer, but you're better off going with someone who does just that instead of he does lawsuits against people who did a car accident against me. He does trust and wills. You want to stay specialized, so that's kind of what it is just being like someone who does tax all the time.
That way,
awesome.
all them rules and regulations are fresh in the mind.
Yeah, and it's a tangled mess if you don't know what you're doing. Were you always just sort of interested in the way taxes work and all?
Well, I actually, I was like a normal person when I heard the word tax originally. I used to cringe.
Right. Sure.
But I actually, this is going to sound super dorky, always loved math as a kid. And actually, in 6th grade, I was on the math bee team for my elementary school.
Totally cool.
And we won the entire
I like
state.
math too. So.
Wow.
State of Iowa. I'm from Iowa, not the biggest state. So.
But you know what? Though, I would
But
think,
we won.
Yeah.
So
you would want your tax attorney to be interested in math, right?
I think so.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, normally people are like, oh, lawyer, poli-sci major. It's like finance, actually.
Right.
So, but I graduated in 2009 with a degree in finance, and that was probably the toughest job to get back then with what was going on with the economy. So I was like, law school is the next step. And then, eventually found tax, and I was like, this is my home.
Best
this
of both
is where
worlds.
I belong.
Oh, I love it.
So how long have you actually been a tax attorney?
So I've been licensed to practice law for 11 years now, going back to 2012.
You look way too young to be doing this for 11
Thank
years.
you. They carded me. They still card me, so that always feels good.
It's not a bad thing, though.
Yeah, I'm 30, just turned 36, but since 2014 here in Orlando specifically, I've been here I worked with another individual, Andrew Schaefer. He kind of taught me the business and showed me the ropes. And then after a few years, went out on my own and just really liked it. For me, it was a natural fit. Standing up for. I love working with just your. Joe Main Street and helping him save money against the IRS.
I was going to ask that. Like, how did, where did helping out small businesses come in? Because I actually love the way that you guys describe your law firm online. You say a boutique law firm. I love that because that, boutique, you think smaller. And that is not always a bad thing,
Well, and that's a lot of small businesses are boutique businesses that we've worked with too. So I think it sounds like a good fit to me.
Absolutely, and this is cliche, but riches from niches. That applies to any business. That's what I always try and tell my clients because I don't just help them with taxes. I try and give them more generalized business advice too. And it's something I always tell people, the more you can specialize in just a particular certain thing, even within your industry, there's a lot of opportunities to specialize. That's just going to, attract business more naturally, especially as you work with people and you do right by people. It's just contagious. I've told people in some ways, if you do right by people, your business will naturally grow itself.
So true. So, think about it. Anytime we've ever dealt with a small business that has gone above and beyond or had that little personal touch. What just came to mind is like my mechanic here in town. The first time, it's a small mom and pop place. First time I ever went there, he replaced a part on my truck. It was like $100 part and wouldn't let me pay for it. Said, well, drive it around and make sure that fixed the issue. Instantly a customer for life. You know what I mean?
Can I get that guy's number? Yeah. I need a good mechanic.
I'll give it to you,
please.
For sure. It's right down the street, too.
Oh, yeah. They've won all sorts of awards and everything.
Yeah. Shout out to really Olympic great. Auto in Altamont Springs.
Yeah, they're really great.
And it's not my idea. I think this goes back to Zig Ziglar is where I heard this. Like if you give if you give people everything they need, you'll get everything you need. Yeah. To where it's like you got to give to get. And really with small business, I try and do similar things too where I tell people when someone comes to me and they've had an issue where the person they were working with before caused them an issue with the IRS and then they come to me to fix it. If that person's going to sign up with me, I usually, as long as it's something minor, I say, hey, you know what? We can make this happen. It's just part of the work that I do. If I charge you to do this, you're essentially getting double taxed. Yeah. You're getting taxed again just to get it done right. When you try to do everything right on the front end, it's just the person you were working with caused you this problem.
Right. This reminds me of how many celebrities get in tax trouble because they don't have anything to do with their taxes. They're just paying someone to take care of it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it's a common thing, I guess, to just not really pay attention to how good someone might be or how true they might be to their word on whatever they're doing. So,
and that's a common, unfortunately, I encounter this a lot where people will call me and it's just the nature of tax business. Some of these people, they'll work with people, they'll do it for like 5 years and then they just totally disappear. So I honestly, probably like 20% of the calls I get are from people who it's like, yeah, my tax guy just disappeared.
Oh, God. That's horrible. Like a sinking feeling in my stomach just hearing it.
Yeah, to give you kind of everyone a disclaimer, all you need to do to prepare taxes is be 18 years old and pay the IRS $50. Yeah. And that $50 fee, actually, they don't even require anymore because the Supreme Court said was unconstitutional.
Oh. So when you go to someplace like TurboTax, we're guilty, or that's Jackson Hewitt, and you walk in, you're saying somebody there could be 18 that just is preparing your taxes.
And so, that's a great question. So let me say, TurboTax can be okay for some people. And I'll sometimes tell people that, honestly, that's the best fit. I'm like, with what you're doing, that's the best way to do it, especially here in Florida, where we don't have to file state tax returns. That's where a lot of times, these online services, they get you, they say, hey, federal's free, but we're charging you for state. But H&R Block, Jackson Hewitt, and Liberty Tax, I would say
stay away.
Run. Run. Just because, you're going to have someone, they take a 1-week course done by the company, and most of it, 60% of that course is based on high pressure sales. 40% is tax content. The other
it's to add on, to upgrade.
They probably get commission for that too.
They do. They absolutely do. And I just see the prices and it's insane, because you can come work with me, an attorney, and I'm going to provide value. So you're going to honestly pay less and get a better service. How am I able to do that? Well, I don't have a physical office. I work with people remote. I mean, I do have a physical office, but I don't let people come there. It's
like your base camp.
With COVID and everything, that just people honestly prefer that now. I found that they would rather.
I'm so there with you. As much as I love meeting,
we are definitely in more of like a concierge type service. Like where people want that. Can you come to my house and give me a massage? Can you come to my house and give me a facial? I want you to just come to me.
Yeah,
totally.
that's still that's in person still. But I see what you're saying. But to your point, Tom. For me, as much as we'd love to meet with people in person like this, but doctor's appointments and everything, I'm doing all that virtual now. I love it because it's more convenient. You don't have to travel anywhere. And for what you do, I mean, as nice as it is to meet you in person, we don't really need to do that for what you do.
Yeah, let's be honest. I mean, taxes especially. First of all, people don't want to deal that and I got to go freaking downtown Orlando and meet with my tax guy. It's the last thing people want to. So that, I mean, again, one of my focus is I'm here to make taxes easy and simple for people.
Yeah.
Because I know how annoying they are in the first place. So like you're saying, I mean, with some folks, they just want the bottom line. They just want to do a phone call, which is okay with me. I prefer to do like a Zoom where we can do screen share because then, I mean, it's honestly easier because we can walk through your return line by line.
You're preaching.
And then
I'm
we're
an
just
IT
looking
guy.
at the return.
You got me at screen share for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can literally say, check here. Put in the total from that here, and you can point to the spots on the form that you're saying.
Oh, well, so what we'll do is, normally people will send me their documents first. We do everything prepared. Then I schedule this follow-up, and we'll kind of talk through everything. And then we'll look at the final return together, and we go through it line by line. And this is something I found that we didn't used to do where I worked before. Not very many tax people do this, but it's really important to go through it with everyone and explain it literally line by line. I know it sounds a little excessive.
No, because you don't understand anything you read when you're going through there.
Especially as a business owner. I know so many tax firms, they'll send you your tax returns and here, this is it. And you're like, why do I owe so much?
Yeah.
Or why is it 95 pages, that I'm supposed to read through?
Right.
Like, what the hell? I don't remember filling this many pages out. Why is it this many?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So that's where it's like, I love to just explain it because it's frustrating when it's like, I've got to send a big check to the federal government when I feel like I've already paid so many taxes, especially if you have employees. But that's, and that way we catch any errors too. If, people miss some documents or left something out, we always catch it that way.
Is that what you refer to on your website as tax resolution?
No, so this is tax preparation. Tax resolution is when someone has an outstanding tax liability with the IRS. And there's a few ways to do with this. I mean, I'm sure everyone's seen the commercial, be it on TV, the radio, settle your tax debt for pennies on the dollar. I know back in the day, I mean, if you're old enough, you probably remember Patrick Oakes, Ronnie Deutsch, and J.D. Harris. They were kind of
the billboards. Those were the guys.
Well, there was this kind of big wave of them. They're back as like between, the 2000s. SNL even did a parody of Patrick Oakes because he was... or not Patrick Oakes, what was his name? The Tax Masters.
Right. But reminds me of the get out of your speeding ticket for $1 kind of, or $100 or whatever it is.
Totally. And there is some truth to what they're saying in terms of the IRS has this program called an offer and compromise. And this would be a good thing just to throw out to anybody who has a tax debt with the IRS. If you hear this, and in these firms, a big one's Optima Tax currently. I actually have a client who totally got ripped off for $10,000 from Optima Tax.
Oh my God.
It's like, so they owe IRS $50,000. Optima Tax says, hey, give us $10,000. We'll settle it for nothing. And it's a complete lie because Optima Tax has I don't know how many people exactly, probably somewhere between 300 and 600 people working for them. So a low level sales guy can make promises that don't matter at all, and it just comes back to him as commission. And then if there's a problem later down the road, he's not even working there.
Yeah. So operator number 2, you get. I just have to ask this because you're a little brave when we talk about these companies. Are you afraid of any of these companies coming to you and saying, "Hey, quit telling people we're getting ripped off here"? Or
No, I mean, no. I would
probably
go.
common
I would go
knowledge.
swear under oath to these statements.
Oh,
I
good
would
for
say
you.
this is. I mean, yeah, you could go read their Google reviews. I'm not the first person.
Yeah.
I mean, full
I mean, I love it.
disclosure,
I love that you're so honest about it. Yeah.
I mean, Optima Tax with this client, we reported them to the California Attorney General because, like I said, they literally did a high pressure sale with her, took 10 grand from her, and again, they use this offer and compromise program, which just this was the disclaimer I wanted to give to everyone. Like, generally, settling your debt for pennies on the dollar doesn't work, except for if your income is, as a single person somewhere, if it's under $35,000 per year and you have no equity in any assets, then you can do that. Like, how it works with IRS, it's pretty formulaic. But if you have any equity in a home, in a retirement account,
they're coming for it. Yeah.
If you have a car, you've got more than $5,000 in equity in a car, then you have to include that in the offer compromise to where it's like, it's like, okay, you got $50,000 in your house. The minimum they'll take is $50,000.
Yeah.
But that's where it's like this program will work for, and that's where I mean, trust me, I've done plenty of successful offer and compromise. My favorite one, this old lady. Who was on Social Security. She was getting her Social Security garnished by IRS, which is they'll take up to 15%, and it's
already such a little amount that somebody's getting to live off of. Yeah.
And she's living with her daughter, helps sharing bills with her, and she is someone, it's based on how much you make in your life, and she was already at a lower end of the payment.
Yeah.
But and she owed $125,000. It was kind of like money she'd gotten through inheritance. It wasn't like I see people who are living a flashy lifestyle and don't pay taxes. That was not this lady. But either way, she owed the tax $125,000.
Wow.
We sold it for $125.
Oh.
Because she doesn't own anything. She had no retirement accounts.
She was never going to get out from under it.
Her income from Social Security was beneath the threshold. So she's someone who it's like, I mean, we could have offered $1. I tell people it's like,
Have a good faith offer.
It's like,
of.
let's at least go over 100. Like $1. I feel like we're like rubbing
It's
our,
like insulting.
their face.
It's like trying to start a fight with them.
Like you can do $125. You can muster that up
to make $125,000 go away.
Yeah, because then you hear stories like that of someone like that that's destitute basically and can't pay it, but then you have people that are billionaires and they might owe so much taxes and they're getting out of it, and you're like, what is happening in this world?
Totally. And like not to get political, I'm not like
we don't get political, but
passing any judgment, but like
it's not a balance there though. There needs to be balance.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask, when do you think it's the best time to meet with a tax attorney? Especially when you have a small business? Like, I mean, I've met with you already over the phone just for some help with getting the startups because all the forms are so overwhelming and they have the jargon that I don't understand, So when is the best time, do you think, in a business venture to meet with a tax attorney?
I would really say when you're getting started and talking through with a tax attorney or a CPA or an enrolled agent, just to tell everybody there's a third type of professional credential that can represent folks before the IRS. It's called an enrolled agent. Most folks don't know about this. It's someone, and again, you have to pass 3 tests. You have to pass a background check, make sure you don't have any like crimes or anything like that. But then you're licensed directly through the Treasury, which the Department of Treasury's, the government agency that the IRS is under. So you're essentially licensed directly through IRS. And, that honestly, enrolled agents are some of the better folks to work with if you have a tax problem, because they know just, that they're so focused on tax resolution. Like what I was saying earlier, it's like when you have a balance to the IRS, there's offer and compromise, or pretty much the other options are a payment plan. They call it an installment agreement, or just currently non-collectible, where you say, again, it's like it kind of comes back to that offer and compromise. If your income's under, again, depends on your family size, the state you live in. If it's under that threshold, you can just say, hey, I can't make any payments for 2 years.
So they're giving you, it's like a pause button on your payback, so to speak.
Yeah, and that can work for you or for against you. Because with tax debt, there's a 10-year statute of limitations. So after 10 years, the debt just kind of falls off. So in some cases, a currently non-collectible is honestly the best strategy, because you can just kind of buy time. But at the same time, it's not the best way for most folks because you're probably not going to be able to buy real estate. Your credit's probably going to be screwed up. It's not like a good strategy for folks most times. Penalties and interest will keep accruing. But again, it is another tool that
Depending
can
on
be used
Yeah.
in a specific case. That, I mean, I've used that, and I've helped a client walk away from $50,000 just doing that. So
Yes, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah,
But-
and it's
So I have a sort of a fundamental question, because Angie has gotten into, we'll get a little more into this, maybe a lot more into the type of business that we're doing with the rental, and how there are very specific things that you need to do that you don't like, I guess licenses or documents you need to get that you don't need to get with other types of businesses. So, but I have a business. I write fiction novels, and I have started a small business for that. And I didn't have to do half the stuff that she's doing because of the type of business it is. But every year that I've done my taxes, where I have it combined, it's an LLC. For the past 3 or 4 years, Angie has told me, you really should get some help, because although I am doing all the deductions for everything I buy for my writing, I guess I'm one of these people that I'm finally starting to see the light where, sometimes you go, well, if I go spend X $100 on someone to help me, that's that much more money that I didn't get back, and it eats into it. I'm starting to see the light in that you probably do better, including the money that you may have not owed or gotten back, by getting help from someone like you than you're going to on your own, no matter how thorough you think you are, because I don't understand the rules. I understand maybe 5% of the rules when I'm doing my taxes. So
That's only because TurboTax tells you that's
right.
the rule.
and I literally do it with TurboTax. Do you get that a lot though, where someone's sort of been resisting, and then they're like, "All right, how can you help me?"
absolutely. And I'm going to give you an example. To someone who they called me because what was happening in their current year, they'd gotten a settlement for a disability claim. And on that, they had to pay out their attorney a third of it. So, but they were issued a 1099 for the full amount. And when they were trying to do it into TurboTax, it wouldn't let them take the deduction for the attorney's fees. And so they called me.
So you're paying taxes for the attorney. You're paying his taxes.
Exactly. And so then I explained to him, I was like, well, a disability claim, it's actually technically in federal law, a discrimination claim, so the attorney's fees are deductible. How it works is, though, you got to take them online. I think I told him exactly. At the time, I told him, I think it's 24Z. And he's like, oh, okay. He's like, thanks. And so, but then he comes back to me, he's like, oh, yeah, I couldn't get that work. I was like, oh, sure, let me do it for you. And then I found with that, it's like, oh, you guys also missed the qualified business income deduction. And then, so this was for 2022, the current. And then I was like, did you guys miss this last year? And in 2020, I was like, 2019, I was like, we're already too late. But I was like, if you guys missed this in 2020 and 2021, we could go back and amend it. So actually, not only did it turn to me helping them for the current year, we went back and amended their 2 prior years to get them more money back.
Yeah.
See,
So-
that's what I'm
Just what
about,
you're
yeah.
saying, I get this, and I have an affliction of this. As soon as you say, "Well, go fill out this form," that's the part that kills most of us, because if you can even find the darn form that you need, if you can
Don't
figure
make it
out,
easy.
if you can figure out which form you think you need, you don't know. You get halfway through it, and then there's a line you don't know what to answer. I hate it so much. So,
And this is part of TurboTax too. They lobby a bunch of money to make it as difficult as possible. So you have to work with someone like them.
Yeah.
Like the
So
example
you have
I
to
gave-
upgrade.
Totally. To where it's like, in
Yeah.
other countries, it's like you just file through the government. I would never encourage that myself personally. I feel like whenever you'd be interacting with the government, you need some type of agent representing you.
Yeah.
I would
Oh,
never
yeah.
trust the government to interact directly with their service.
right, it's like going to court for yourself. I'm going to represent
yeah.
myself. I'm going to. No, I got this.
I'm
Trust
in
me.
my own interest.
I got it. I got this.
Definitely. I'm not in your interest. I'm in my own. But the tax codes change so much. And I just heard you rattle, some, oh, did you get this, credit? Or da, 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 da. How do you keep up to date with that, though? Because that is such an ever-changing, minute by minute, probably by second code. That how do you keep up with it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's a great
You have a
question.
good memory?
No, I wish. No, I decent. No, decent. It's so I have a resource. I mean, I'm sure like anyone in any type of specialized trade can relate to this. You have like kind of industry experts, different kind of trade publications or materials you go to. So, I mean, the one that I use, we have specialized software, and it's not only is it updated, annually, it's based on year. So like when we go back and file prior year returns for folks, the software is by year. So we have that, and then the same with the tax book, because again, it changes each year. But when you subscribe to the service, you get the tax book by year. So
cool.
That's kind of like a quick thing. I have in PDF form. So if there's ever any issues, I can go directly to that.
It's kind of like how doctors, they have like that resource where they can type in and find clinical trials that were done, or, if a doctor logged it's how they find diseases and stuff, right? If somebody logged it one time, then, somebody else has had that. So there you go.
Did you have that at the pediatrician?
The pediatrician, he just typed it into Google.
Oh, nice.
He just Googled it.
Yeah, he was like, it's because my son, he's got a little bit of eczema on his arm.
Yeah.
And then he's like, you got to use the splash and seal method. To where it's like, you get water on it and then you just seal it with lotion. I was like, oh, okay.
Okay.
And then he showed
Some
us
hydration in there.
Exactly. He's like the little kids that don't have the protein in their skin to keep the moisture.
Yeah.
But a similar idea. And like, I have a major one where at the end of the year, because most of the stuff comes out by December. You can't start filing until the end of January. So there's a publication that comes out and kind of is like, hey, here's all the major changes. But again, I mean, a big thing comes back to the specialized software that we use, to where, as I said, they keep updating that throughout tax season, and that catches a lot of stuff. Any changes particularly, that alerts it to us. And
so you have sort of I'm thinking of my industry, but you have I guess it's any industry specialized, like you said, where your brain is already wired into this from doing it for over 10 years professionally. So you already know when you talk to a client or a potential client, you need to do this, that, and the other. But the software and the updates to all of it is sort of like the icing on the cake, where you can go back in and see what's new and what's changed and combined. You know what it makes me think of? This is going to be a really far out question, but has there been any discussion about AI? Because
absolutely.
Because at some point it could almost help you find exactly what you want and write it for you.
And this is where with tax, I think it's going to be limited, because there's a translation from words to numbers. And I feel like this is where AI is not going to be able to understand, because there's a lot of things. It's, with tax, it's more, it can be more art than science.
Yeah.
Because it again, you're interpreting law. Lots of times people think like CPAs are the top authority on tax law.
Yeah.
But honestly, I always tell people, here's an example I give people. I go, well, like, the speed limit, all right? Let's say you're talking to an accountant about like, how fast should I drive on the road? An accountant's gonna be like, well, what's the speed limit? That's the fastest you should go. That's the speed limit. That's as fast as you're allowed to go.
They want to stay, safe.
Yeah. And like an EA, because they're bound by the treasury, they'll tell you the same thing. You got an attorney, they'll be like, well, you're supposed to go the speed limit. Not everybody does.
And if you go 4 miles over, you're not going to get a ticket.
Exactly. And like, if you go 6, you could. And like, here's kind of what you'd be looking at. So that's kind of like...
So there's areas of gray that are interpreted by law, basically, where it's like, yeah.
And you decide where the risks really are. Like I think read between the lines, I'm seeing that this is why we hire people like you, because you know what you can do and what you don't want to do.
Right. And like, again, and like, not to say we're like in bad faith with the IRS, but again, it's just like, I'm trying to bring what, like, Jeff Bezos, Warren Buffett, you see all these billionaires. I mean, their effective tax rates are less than their secretaries. I'm just trying to like bring these tax reduction strategies to, like, again, Main Street instead of Joe Wall Street.
You're trying to bring the balance, man.
Oh, I love what you just said. I love what you just said. That should be your catch, or is it? You said you're trying to bring it to Joe on Main Street versus Joe on Wall Street.
Exactly.
I like that. Yeah.
Because that's, I mean, for a lot of these strategies, they've traditionally been priced out from the small business owner. But, with technology, everything now, I mean, that's how I'm able to do things so efficiently. I do have some, again, this comes back to my specialized software. They do some document processing for me. So they kind of have, again, like not like a call center, but like a tax document processing center to where, and they take on the liability for that too, if there's any type of error with that, to where, again, it just allows things to be done more efficiently, to where I prefer to interact with the client all the time and just keep talking to them and tell them what to do. And kind of these more, simple tasks can be outsourced.
Yeah. I mean, that's smart though. That's, working smarter, not harder.
And it allows us to keep, exactly, it keeps the cost down. Like that's what a big, because I believe in delivering value. There's plenty of tax guys out there that will take a bunch of money from you because
it's the time of the season, and that's when they're going to make their money.
And we all get a little desperate, too, to get it right, especially if you're getting it wrong or you think you're going to be in trouble somehow, right?
Or you're getting down to that deadline.
Oh, yeah. And there's a lot of, and let me just tell everybody out there, because it's a good disclaimer. There's a lot of tax forms, and this is kind of the scam these tax guys use high pressure sales and high value sales strategies on folks. It's oh, I got to do this form. I got to do this form. And again, come back to the software, all these forms are generated by the software. Yeah. But again, it's if you don't deal with it every day, you have no idea.
So I have been using TurboTax. I'm going to be embarrassed almost for 9 years. And I have noticed, I showed you this, where I do it exactly the same way. And then every once in a while, it's a new form I need to fill out. And I'm wait a minute, that didn't pop up last. You know how it sort of gives you the guided. So I hear what you're saying, where then I'm completely confused. Did I miss a form last year? Did I answer something differently? It seems a little, I don't know, a little shady.
A little shady. So so when someone comes to you, what is some of the top questions they have for you? For somebody that's really new to a small business or, has had their small business for some time and maybe they need a new person to help them. What are some of those questions that are you seeing all the time?
That's great. Could I give you I'll keep it at 3. Is that okay?
Yeah, because I'm sure we could
I
have
could go
50
on a bunch
or 60.
Let me give you what I think would be the 3 biggest. First one would be how do I deal with my car? How do I deal with my business vehicle? Do I want it titled in my individual name? Do I want it titled in my business? And
I had this exact question for you.
I would tell you 100% title it to yourself individually. That's going to make your life way easier with the DMV, with your insurance guy. If you put a vehicle in a business name, you're probably looking at sales tax. Unfortunately, here in Florida, if you transfer it from yourself personally to the business then afterwards, and getting insurance is way harder. And for purpose of IRS, they don't care who owns it. They just care about the business usage. So, and with that too, another common question with the vehicles is, do you keep track of your mileage? Do you keep track of your actual expenses? 95 to 99% of the time, you're going to be ahead to keep track of your mileage. The only time actual expenses usually are better is if you're dealing with a heavy vehicle, we're talking a dually truck, something where you're putting over 20,000 miles on it in less than 3 years, and the cost out the doors over 60,000.
Yeah.
To where that's
like
otherwise
a semi-truck driver or something that owns their own vehicle.
Oh, well, yeah. And truckers is there's a whole lot of different roles to apply them, but anyone.
A construction truck. I'm picturing the big construction truck. It's a regular pickup truck, but it's it's a work truck.
Tool things added or whatever.
And that would be, and again, even with that, you'd have to be turned over, every 3 years to have the actual expenses make sense. Otherwise, you get more depreciation on taking the mileage. So that would say with vehicles, the top 2 rules.
Interesting.
Put it in your own name and keep track of your mileage.
But see, that's the thing that a tax attorney would know, because you kind of know what those numbers are for the depreciation and stuff. And unless you're really educated in it, you just look at it and say, yeah, I'll take the standardized deduction or what, you know what I mean?
Totally.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
Well, mileage is a killer too. That's, And so I love that, because knowing when to pick the mileage and when to pick the maintenance are things you would not know.
And just even the fact, like he's saying, you have your business name, like we have the Lynwood Lounge, but would we put our vehicle in that name? No, put it in your own name. That's a really,
But track your mileage.
And then any mileage that you drive doesn't need to be in Lynwood's name. You still get credit for it. That's what IRS cares about, is it business mileage.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've done a lot of business mileage lately.
Yeah, we have. I know.
Oh, boy.
We should have been tracking that, because I don't think we were.
Yeah. Well, Apple Maps history's out there.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of ways we sometimes we do have to do this, just a little segue record recreation.
Yes.
And I tell people, as like, at worst, take a picture of your mileage on January 1, take another picture December 31st.
And you do the math.
So I hopefully this is okay, because I'm going to say it, but the way that I have been doing my deductions, no, because I feel like this is legit. The way I've been doing my deductions, like Angie's like, save your receipt for that, save your receipt for that. Well, I know like the 4 credit cards I ever use for anything for my business. So I literally download my history for the entire year, dump it in Excel, dump my Amazon history into Excel, dump my PayPal into Excel. Then I filter. I'm an IT nerd, but I filter it all out.
Definitely,
I just go through line by line, like, wasn't business. Delete them all out, and total. I've got all my stuff right there. You can dump it right into the form.
You must have a good memory.
I don't know if it's the right way to do it, but it's the way that I have a ledger without having a gigantic amount of receipts.
Totally. It's the right way if it works for you. What I tell folks with this, and I'll segue, this was going to be the second thing I was going to talk about, is bookkeeping, more generally.
Yeah.
Okay.
What I always recommend to folks is to make the bookkeeping easy, just have a business bank account and run all the income and expenses through there. And so that way, instead of having to synthesize,
we'll do that. We'll do that next year, Tom. This year we were all over the place.
Well, disclaimer, this may be why you're doing that, and this is what I tell folks. Sometimes, especially with credit cards nowadays, you get different benefits for using different cards in places. And again, this is another common question. Like, can I use my personal card for business expenses because I get better points on it? And it's like, yes, absolutely. You just have to do some type of reconciliation.
I love your suggestion, though, because I think you said synthesize it down, which is really what that is, boiling it down to what. But if it's all one account, how easy is that? It's literally everything is in one spot.
And then the next step of that, so there's, obviously QuickBooks, everyone knows that. They charge, it's pretty expensive. Is the issue with QuickBooks that I have. What I recommend currently is WaveApps, WAVAPPS. It's pretty much the same as QuickBooks, but it's free. If you want to do payroll for them, and obviously, like, they charge for that. And I'm not saying it's going to be free forever. It's free currently. I think Intuit bought them, so it's only probably a matter of time.
Well, and then there will be upgrades too.
Intuit is TurboTax. They'll just kill it or bake it in.
Yeah.
But I see. Hopefully, there'll be something else that comes down the line. But with that, it's like there's other services where it's like, boom, then it'll sync with your business bank account. Now, it'll do like even any small bank. Even they have like small towny banks. I'm like, wow. And so you can pull that. It'll pull all the transactions directly through, and it has like an AI thing or whatever where it'll kind of automatically classify. It'll be like, oh, Chick-fil-A, that's a food expense.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I did, again, this is a hokey, because I don't want to diminish what I feel like is the value of using someone like you. But at a lesser level, up until this point for us, I was using... is it called it ties into TurboTax. It's an app on your phone. It's called Self-Employed. It's like Intuit Self-Employed, and it tracks your mileage. It actually is tracking where you're going and everything. All your expenses from your bank account go through it, categorizes which one is which, and then you just open the app, and it's almost like a game where you hit one button. Business expense,
swipe
yes or no?
left or swipe right?
It is. It's like left or right. Business expense, business expense or no, and you say yes, no, yes, no. Then when you do TurboTax again at the end of the year, all that stuff's already in there. So it's pretty neat.
Wow, and that's the same idea. So like, I totally encourage that for the bookkeeping. I would just be like, again, not to promote, for some people it would probably totally work. I would just say for some people, that translation between the two, it's not going to capture that, again, artistic quality that a human lawyer can get and say, hey, well, actually this
is what she's been telling me.
And again, to give you like an example, like, this is a common question I get from folks, like, oh, can I like deduct expenses for my pets? And
Boy, we have a corgi, so I wish you could.
Well, the general answer is no. Okay, they're not kids. But
what is your business, though?
Well, so that's where, with some clients, based on the nature of their business, based on the nature of their dog, it's like, well, that's not a pet expense. It's actually a security system expense.
Yeah.
Because, I'm sure, I imagine your corgi, maybe if someone is not supposed to be there, does he get a little feisty?
Look, I'm just going to say we could use her in marketing and because she's very photogenic and so cute.
Oh, there's a good one.
Okay. See?
But
this is the creativity. This is where you get the lawyer.
Lines.
This is where TurboTax will never give you this.
And you know what? You just reminded me when I was walking the dog this morning in downtown Eustis, there is a store right on the main strip that looks like it's got a bunch of antique stuff in there, and it's got 3 giant dogs right at the door, like real dogs barking when you go by. That is a security system.
Totally. You've seen the signs like, warning.
Yeah.
Dog will bite.
Yeah. Don't break in here.
Oh my God, I love that though, because that is, like you said, it's, and if you are using your dog in your business somehow, maybe you bring your dog to craft fairs with you. And draws people into the tent.
And that would be a marketing expense. You're right.
Yeah.
And so that's where it's like, I like to work with people in that creativity. Because again, it comes back to, whenever, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, whenever they go out and do everything, all their security, all their food, all this stuff, it's paid for by the company. And something like that, you got the shareholders subsidizing it. Mm-hmm. But either way, they're not paying it out of their pocket. They're not paying tax on it.
That's why they're billionaires.
So why should us, right? But that's wrong. Why should they be paying less tax than a small business owner? This is America.
But it's a great point. We've heard the
Balance.
famous quote where if you don't want me to do that, then change the tax code. So that, that's what they do, right? They're using the system to their advantage. And I love that you keep kind of circling back around to how it's not really fair to small businesses can't do it, but large businesses can.
I disagree with that. Small business should be able to do it at least the same, if not more. I'm not saying more. That's what my ultimate goal would be.
Yeah.
If I was in Washington D.C.,
right.
I'd say small business get all.
But it should be, like you said, it should be balanced. Definitely. If you're doing it, they should be able to do it to the percentage that would equal the same in their business.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So bookkeeping is a huge thing then.
And the last thing I'd say on bookkeeping, what it ultimately comes down to, there's a lot of different ways to do it. What your tax guy or TurboTax, whoever they is, what they need is they need your income, your total income from the year. Don't need any further broken down. They just need one number. And then they need your expenses by category. So there's a lot of ways to get there. I work with some folks. They do Excel spreadsheets. I've got some folks, I just send them a list of common business expenses, and they'll just write numbers next to them and then send it back to me.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing of how I work with people. I'm like, I get there's a lot of different ways to do this, and like, we're here to make it easy for you.
Yeah.
So like the easiest way for you, we can work with.
I love that. And I love the guidance more than anything else. The guidance on how do you get it started, what you need to do when it's time to file taxes, because nothing is complex as what you've been doing, Angie. But even with my books, I was lost.
I haven't even got to the taxes part at the end of the year.
No, but
that's why when I started talking to him, I'm like, I'm telling you, at the end of the year, I wanted to get back to the.
But I meant just to get the business started.
Oh yeah, it's. I'm not even done with all the registrations, by the way, neither. I still
those
have
short-term rentals here in Florida, because the hotels, that's where it comes from. The hotels are like, we don't want them undercutting us, so that's where they hit you with all the taxes.
That's right. And there's so many registrations that I still have to do I've done the state.
You got to do the county, you got to do the state.
I've got to do the county, and
I have
to do remember we talked about the tourism tax account number? Oh yeah, I have to do that.
Yeah.
And when I just got the registration for that, there's 3 more things that I have to do to meet that criteria. I'm like, oh my gosh, you people are killing me.
I'm over here thinking, wow, even if we book 100%, it's like, you owe money still somehow.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, just a quick disclaimer. I mean, you guys are doing everything right. Not to say you should do it this way, but I have clients who they just
put their house on Airbnb?
They just do it through Airbnb. The thing with Airbnb, they pay all the taxes, and for the most part, the government stays off your back. Again, I don't recommend people do that, but I recommend people doing what you're doing. But we're talking about, you see how onerous it is.
Yeah.
So you see why some people are like, I don't want to do that.
Forget it, right?
Yeah.
Or how much money all of a sudden you're paying now, and it's.
Well, it's funny because I was talking to my mom, and I'm like, I was telling you, there's no way that that 99% of the Airbnbs out there are doing things the right way.
No way.
because
Yeah.
there's so many of them.
They're
There's
just
no way.
flying under the
They're
radar.
like, oh, here's a picture. Here's a picture of my house. Come rent it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Oh,
there's
yeah.
just no way. So I know we're like that though. We want it. That's a protection for you. I don't want the county coming and saying, "Oh, you owe us $5,000 because you were renting
totally.
your house," and they will
Yeah.
do that.
And there's so many, like you're saying, there's so many. I mean, they're violating county rules. They're violating. I mean, I used to live at 55 West downtown, and I mean, they'd have a big sign: Airbnbs are not allowed here. But you could go on Airbnb, you'd see like 4 or 5 different apartments
Right-
yeah.
right in there.
55 West.
And that's the thing. You have to do your research too, because
Yeah.
you got to know your city ordinances, your county,
Oh yeah.
if you're unincorporated county,
But
the
it-
state. I mean, it goes on and on.
I mean, I see how this happens, people. I stayed in Airbnb in Miami one time. I thought it was on the up and up, but like, an hour before we're supposed to check in, they send us these rules. They're like, don't tell anyone there you're here with Airbnb. Just tell them this. Tell them your friends have, and then they gave us a name.
Right.
And so,
You
like,
got a whole side story.
I
because
see
they're
how
in a
it-
community or like a condo or something.
right where they didn't want that. And
But
Oh
see,
my
we're
gosh.
trying to make this a
Yeah.
real business, potentially not just for this house. So we want it to really be, you
Yeah.
know,
that's the right way to do it.
Yeah.
That's what I always tell people, because it's like you don't want that hanging over your head. That's
Right.
what it is. At the end of the day, I tell people you can do things this way, but it's going to cause you a stress.
yeah.
Yeah. And, this is part of our retirement, package.
We don't want to. I don't want to be
basically.
looking over my shoulder. I think
You don't want
that's
the
all,
IRS garnishing your return.
right.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't want to get a first-hand look at what tax
Yeah.
resolution is like.
All right. And you had another one, the top 3 here.
So, in the last, I think this is a good one to finish on: how to pay myself. How do I pay? How do I
Yeah,
pay
because
myself?
we've had
How
a
do I
lot of
get
money
that
out of
to it?
pocket so far, Todd. So we
I
need to
can't
know
even think
this.
about it lately. It's,
Totally. And so this is where if you're a Schedule C, if you're an S corp, if you're a partnership, that's kind of another discussion. Generally, I'd say out of those 3, you want to be an S corp so you can avoid self-employment tax just on the short end. But either way, how it works is the amount that you're taxed on is whatever essentially the net income of your business is. So it doesn't matter at the end of the year if it's sitting in the business bank account or your personal account. So you can generally, if you want to write yourself a check from the business, if you want to do just an interbank transfer, I tell people that's generally the best. If your business and personal accounts are the same bank, doing an interbank transfer has the same record keeping as a check, and you don't bring paper into it.
Yeah.
oh, that's it. I'm moving my personal account over. I was already thinking about it, honestly.
Once you have multiple employees, if you have 2 or more employees, if you're an S corp, putting yourself on payroll can be a good option. Can be a good way to go.
Can you be an employee as an owner?
Yeah, absolutely, as an S corp, and that's how you're supposed to do it.
Okay.
The only time I'll differentiate with that with folks is if you are a single owner operator and you have an S corp. And what we do this a lot with real estate agents, especially because their income's very sporadic. They can have a couple closings in a month, they can have 0 for a few months, and so it's hard to have like a regular payroll coming through. Like, I'm going to pay myself $1,000 a week. So what we'll do is we'll just issue a 1099 from the business to them at the end of the year, and it evens out because when they get that 1099, they pay the full self-employment tax on that. And I guess that would just be a quick thing to explain for people who are self-employed.
Yeah.
There's a self-employment tax. It's 15.3%. Let's call it 15. Because so that is, if you are Schedule C, if you're self-employed, whatever, you pay that 15% in addition to your regular income tax. So if you're in the 25%, 24% tax bracket, plus, if you make $100,000, you're paying an extra 15% on that, regardless of what, if you got a spouse, whatever. No matter what, you're paying 15% on that. With an S corp, you can cut that down easily in half to where you're only paying that 15% on $50,000.
Wow.
I mean, that right there saves you $7,500.
Yeah. Okay.
So that is
Interesting.
the big thing for, again, trying to, again, another thing for self-employed folks trying to employ people. Obviously everybody knows it's better to have independent contractors than employees. Yeah. That's better for the business. But if you use an S corp, you can actually structure it in a way, to where it's better. It's good for the employee too, to where you have a mutual benefit from it. And it's not like, I know, again, the context of it seems, bad, but it not only allows them with this, the S corp to reduce the self-employment tax, then they can start expensing, if they've got a home office, if they're using their internet, their cell phone, if they're doing mileage, they can deduct that. If they're W-2, you can't take any of those deductions for that. So that's how it can kind of be a win-win.
Cool. Okay.
Those deductions, really do add up, taking them against the income.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, my brain is going like, oh my God, I got so many questions.
Oh, I know what the tax and the numbers.
But this is personal stuff. So
that's why I'm taking all these notes because I'm like, I have to add. I mean, we got to talk about all this stuff. Not on the show, but I got to talk about.
Those are my worries. I was like, I don't want to lose people because I know some of this stuff can be so convoluted.
I think those 3 questions that you covered that are the most that are asked to you the most. They make perfect sense. It's like the 3 biggest things. So I think that was like probably very helpful to people.
I hope so. That's what my goal is. I just want to save people money. Like it's what I tell people. It's like I'd rather see this money stay here in Florida than get shipped up to Washington D.C.
Yeah.
It's just no matter who's in office, I don't think anybody is like happy with how it's spent.
Nobody did. Well, and also nobody just wants to give their money. Like, here you go. Here's some free money you're not paying me any interest for.
Oh, and especially as a small business owner, I see so many people that work so hard and get so little for it.
Yeah.
It is really such a grind, and that's where it's like, and the taxes, again, with that self-employment tax, that 15% on the top, I see how regressive that is, and it just makes it hard to make a living.
Yeah.
And when you should.
And then the small business becomes more of a passion project, like even like Dan with his books.
Yeah,
you know, it's like your write-offs are more than what you're making, and you're doing it just because it's your passion and you love doing it.
Yeah.
But is it a real bit? You know, are you even making a profit off of it at all?
No, not at all.
Well, that's okay. I mean, you can lose money. And you're getting a tax deduction.
Yeah.
How that works with IRS, you can lose money 3 years in a row. After 3 years, you lose the presumption of being a business, and it could potentially be considered a hobby.
Yeah,
that's what they say. I mean, I've never.
They warned me about that, and I'm 4 or 5 years deep, and I'm still losing money. So they, yeah.
Well, this has been very, very
educational for me.
Incisive.
Here she goes.
I can't say
every
words
time
sometimes.
she does one word every episode. I love it.
Incisive? Is that a word? Incisive.
If it's not, it should be.
Insightful?
Shouldn't it be? He just said what I always say.
Is it insight?
If it's not a word, it should be, or it will be one day. It will be in the dictionary.
Are you thinking
the Webster word 2026.
Like ginormous. Do you remember when they added ginormous to the dictionary?
Yeah, it's in there now.
It's in there. And that wasn't a word. Somebody made that crap up.
Are you thinking insightful?
Insightful?
Insightful, maybe that. What? Well, and I want to say also, Tom, you weren't losing me on that. I know you're just saying in general you don't want to. It was just opening my mind to all these other questions I want to ask or talk about.
That's where my brain was like, oh my God.
Outside the show, because we'll go rabbit hole. But
yeah. But where can everybody find you if they're interested in maybe, it was real easy to schedule an appointment with you because you use Calendly. I will say that. So super easy to schedule with Tom.
Yeah, just call me 407-906-4077. I try and answer. That goes directly to me, my cell phone. You can text that too. Answer it when I can. If not, I have an answering service. They'll take a message from you and I get an email. I'll try and call you back as soon as possible. 407-906-4077.
I have his number.
Or if you want to, see my picture, check me out, get a little more info from me first. PineappleLaw.com.
And we'll put a link in the show notes to your number and to your website. So if you're listening, just scroll down, click it.
And just to tell everybody, like how I do this stuff, I'm always, whenever I just talk with people about stuff, I'm not like one of these attorneys. It's like, oh, you talk to me, you're getting a bill. No, the only time I bill people is when we file tax returns, because that's kind of how I see. That's what I do. That's my thing.
I will say that's one of the things I was very impressed about. I called you. I heard about you from a friend of a friend, right, who heard about you or who has worked with you, and a small business that I trust. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to call, and you helped me over the phone, just like, oh, let's just set that up right now. I'm like, what? How much do you charge? Nothing. I'm like, what?
Yeah, that was amazing.
Not to say he doesn't charge, okay, because he has to make a living.
Yeah, no, I got 2 kids.
Tom's not free. Tom's not free forever. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, that was very impressive to me because people just don't do that. And so to me, that means the world, because you're like, this is somebody that's like really interested in helping a small business get off the ground.
And like I said, customer, as soon as that happens, we're like, okay, we're using that guy.
It's like,
I'm so happy to
it's like the small restaurant you go to and you're frequent there, and for some reason they just always give you free dessert, and you're like, I want to pay for the dessert, but they just want to give it to you because they just love that you came in there.
I know who you're talking about, by the way.
Yeah, you know who it is. Anyway, and I did have two questions that aren't really about any of this. Where did Pineapple Law come from?
I wanted to know that too.
Where did the name Pineapple Law come from? Was it
full-
available? Like, what was it?
Exactly. So I went to, there's like those domain websites, and like I wanted something that had the word law in it because my name, Thomas Evans, not the most unique name in the world, especially for lawyers. You type it in, you get 100 different.
Sounds like an attorney name though, for sure.
Yeah.
So that's why I went to this law website and I typed in law. In terms of what was available, there was like palm tree law and pineapple law were kind of the most. I was like, palm tree law, they might think I deal with like arbor law or something.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, pineapple, I just kind of.
Florida, pineapple, like.
I know they don't technically grow here. That's why. But I was like, I know it's a sign of like warmth and hospitality. And that's how I always like to make people feel. I always, I like hosting people and stuff like that. So I was like, oh, that just fits with my ethos.
I love it. And it's literally pineapplelaw.com. You got it.
Right. No, and that's how, And I was like, well, what's pineapple got to do with law? I mean, about as much as Apple has to do with computers and cell phones.
Amen.
Okay, and that was the other thing I was going to ask is your name. So your name, Thomas William Evans,
yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, I am.
And, okay, so is it a rule with lawyers that you're supposed to use all three names? Because I think,
lawyers and serial killers, yes.
No, lawyer. It's always like Thomas J. Esquire the third. You know what I mean? Like,
and serial killers.
What is what is the rule?
I think you either have to use all three, or you have to, for some reason, abbreviate your first name and use your middle name and then the last name. But no, they talked about this in law school. There's some like kind of psychology thing, whereas if you use your full name, it seems more official. And I think like all lawyers have kind of picked up on this.
Yeah.
But no, it's just kind of like
it's just a psychology thing. Okay.
And like I pick up on that stuff. But like I try and not be that lawyer. I mean, trust me, I deal with. I do still do a little bit of litigation here and there, mostly for just friends and family. But like, I deal with. Lawyers, you never know what you're going to get. I mean, South Florida, you're going to get some crazy people more often than not. A little bit more Tony Montana complex than you want to deal with.
Right.
But so that's, I don't ever want to be those people. But like, again, that's what it comes back to, where it comes from. People are trying to get every edge they can in the legal game.
I just, because, I've talked to you on the phone, and then I saw your picture and I'm like, now what's up with the three names there? Because you're laid back, you know what I mean? Like you're not like here.
Oh, totally.
You're not here in a suit and we were like really worried that you might show up in a suit and tie because it's kind of warm in here. So we're like, holy crap.
I had a hot sauce T-shirt on and I changed just in case. I was like, well, just in case.
Well, for full disclosure, I'm wearing tank tops and basketball shorts right now.
Dude,
flip flops.
We live in Florida.
As soon as you walked in, we were like, yes, this is going to be a great interview now.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for joining us and for
thank you. It's been a pleasure. I've really enjoyed this for my first podcast. Thank you. You guys have made this awesome.
And we love that you were the first to join us in the new studio. And maybe we can have you back again before we move to North Carolina in the little comfy little lounge there, and we'll talk some deeper stuff.
It would be my pleasure. Maybe put some questions out to the audience. Be like, are there any more specific task questions you would like them to answer?
That would be fun.
So if you do have any questions, go ahead and send them in to contact@fineanddanjee.com, or you can just message us on Facebook underneath when we post this podcast.
Or you can call me directly if you want to answer them personally.
There we go. We'll get those. Get those questions written. And we want to thank Bill and Mary Weinog from Wekiva Island again for sponsoring this studio space for us. Thank you guys so much. And for all you do for the community. And guys, remember, at the end of each and every day, it's all fine and Danjee. Hi guys, we hope you enjoyed the show today. If you did, we would love a review. So make sure to head over to your Apple Podcast app or whatever app you listen to your podcast on and give us a 5-star review. Also, give us a like and a follow on our social media. You can find that all under Fine and Danjee. And if you want to find out more about our guest or about us, head over to fineanddanjee.com.